My name's Shanti, right? I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I'm 19 years old. We are the Ishayas Ascension. Before I go into why I'm here and what my experience is in this, I want to go over a little bit what Ishayas Ascension means, right? Ishaya means for or in support of the highest consciousness. And ascension, of course, means to rise. Nonetheless, with us, we say it is to rise beyond the limitations of the mind. So together, it's to rise beyond the limitations of the mind in support for the highest consciousness. And I've been practicing this since I was 6. You know, this has been my life. And it's been incredible. You know, I want to share with you what a huge impact this has had in my life. And it's funny because I never recognized what a big impact it had on me until I was about a freshman in high school a few years ago. And I had a friend who told me, does nothing ever bad happen in your life? Like, why are you always so happy? And he's like, you have to have a reason for that, you know? And it's funny how our generation and everybody in general, it's like you have to have a reason to be happy. You know, you have to have a reason to be in peace, to be calm for whatever reason, right? And I was just happy all the time without a reason. And for me, that was like normal, of course, but I recognized that everybody around me, that was beyond them, you know, how could you just be happy? And so recognizing that made me realize how much it impacted my life. You know, how in many situations of my life, I went through some hard things. For example, you know, growing up in a situation full of violence, you know, a lot of aggression, parents separating, you know, threats, just a very dense situation growing up. Nonetheless, it didn't impact me the way that it impacted, for example, my half-sisters. You know, and I realized, wow, oh my gosh, like the suffering that it brought them was nothing compared to my experience of that, right? From being in a state of peace and being able to have this practice, it helped me get through life so much easier, you know, and live my life really from a different perspective. Before I get into how it works or how exactly what the practice is, I want you to take a second and think about, just close your eyes and just think about what your highest desire is. What, if you could have anything in the world, what would your highest desire be? Just take a few seconds to think about that. And for any reason, let's say it's a house, let's say it's money, say it's a family. You know, if you were to attain those material things, what emotion would that bring you? How would that make you feel? And perhaps that's your highest desire, right? For me, it was always peace. It was freedom. You know, I wanted to be in this constant, infinite peace. I didn't want any suffering. I didn't want any, you know, tension in my life and my body. And the thing is that we don't recognize how our life is, right? So let's say you have these desires. Why do we have these desires, right? Because at one point in our life, we have experienced that, right? At one point in our life, we've had these glimpses of happiness, of joy, of peace, of freedom, you know, whatever that may be for you. We've had that in a past moment. And I want you to imagine, let's say, a wishing tree for this sense, right? A wishing tree where all your desires, your highest desires are on as the fruits, okay? And if you were to grow this tree or if you were to feed this tree, how would you do that? You know, would you water the leaves? I hope you say no. But if we were to do that, we would go to the root, right? We would water the root, we would feed the root, we would take care of that root in order for it to be nurtured, in order for it to grow, right? And that's exactly what we do here. And what we're going to put at the bottom of this root is an infinity sign. I'm going to represent it as an infinity sign, right? In which case we call the ascendant. And that's the root of your highest desires, of everything you wish you could have. That is the true state, the source of everything. And I want you to envision, right, if that is the root, what we say here is that's actually your natural state. That's actually how we all began, right? All those highest desires, you've had that experience previously, right? And that's where we started. And so what happens? Why is it that now we're chasing it? Why is it that now we wish we could have that? Why don't we have that constantly if that's our natural state? Why do we feel like we're lacking something, right? And it's because we're born. Right? When we're born, what happens? At that state, you're innocent. There's nothing to be changed if you've seen a baby before, which I'm sure most of you have. If you've seen a baby before, what do you see? You know, you see this innocence, you see this light in this small being, you know, no worries, no stress, and how sometimes we wish we were them so we wouldn't have to worry about life, you know, and these things in life that cause us stress and anger and depression or all these, etc., you know. And so you see this in babies and you recognize that that's a state in which they're in, or even animals as well, pets. They're in that state constantly. But when you're babies, what happens? You're born into this world, this dense world, right? And you have to depend on your parents, right? To feed you, to change you, and you begin to grow in this world of dependency to an extent. And you keep growing up and your parents teach you how to eat, you know, don't eat with your mouth open, chew with your mouth closed, right? You have to eat with a fork and a knife, and that's how it's done. And you grow up, you start having other beliefs, the beliefs of what your parents believe, you know, if you're religious, if you're not, if your dad's into sports or not, if X, Y, and Z, right? And then you go to school, and what happens? You have the mean group and the good group, the cool group, the nerdy group, and you begin to kind of merge towards one of them, you know, whether you get good grades, whether you don't, you get teachers that you like, that you don't, you know, and you begin to kind of form this identity around yourself and who you are. Well, I'm the kid that doesn't get good grades, but I'm good at sports, right? Or I'm the kid that gets straight A's, but I'm called nerdy and I don't have friends, you know, and that's who I am. And you start to grow older and you begin to have these ideas, these patterns around whether you're good, whether you're not, black from white, social media, society. It's like you have to be pretty. If you're not pretty, you're not good enough, right? I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not skinny enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough. And it's interesting because it totally manages the way that we see our life. You know, it gives us this little box that we put ourselves into, and it's like, this is how you are, this is who you are, and it's what you are. And we believe that. We start to believe all these negative ideas about ourselves. And you take these judgments to heart and you start to judge yourself on a constant basis, you know? And how is it living life from there? I mean, if you ask me, it's pretty horrible, you know? Jeez, and I see it in my friends. You know, I see it in my companions at school who suffer from depression because their friends don't like them, you know, because the teacher said this, or their parents are not together, or their parents are making them feel like they're not enough. And it's like, wow, I'm not enough. I don't deserve love, you know. I don't deserve to be seen. And wow, what a huge generation of misery, you know. And on social media, people pretend to be happy. Right? And we can see through that because we all have a similar experience of feeling lonely, feeling scared, feeling insecure. And you think, wow, maybe they are happy. Maybe that's possible. But then you recognize that they also have the same issues, you know. But we start to idolize these people. We start to idolize this. And we're like, well, maybe if I look like this, I'll be happy. Maybe if I had bigger boobs, I'll be happy. You know, maybe if I had more curves, I'll be happy. If I was a guy, right? If I was tall, dark, and handsome, as there's a saying, right? Maybe it'd be different. Maybe someone will look at me. And we live in this chaos with ourselves. And imagine how that looks in our head. You know, like the amount of horrible things that we tell ourselves. How many thoughts do you even think that we have on a daily basis? Well, it's around, the average person has an average of 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. Now, if you ask me, that sounds crazy. I don't know how our mind hasn't exploded from the amount of thoughts that we have. You know, and it's crazy. We don't even know that. We don't recognize that because we're swimming in it. There was this psychologist, maybe you've heard of him from psychology class. His name is Abraham Maslow, right? And he's mostly known for the hierarchy of needs. And what he coined was this experience of the peak experience. And he did this study on the brainwaves, on two brainwaves. The first one was of a person on a regular day living their regular life and how their brain would look like. What he saw in the study is that the average person, their brainwaves looked incredibly chaotic, as you can imagine, with the amount of thoughts. You know, it was just absolutely crazy. And it's like, that's how we live our everyday life. But the cool thing is that he coined this experience of the peak experience. And so what is that? It was this experience in which people had when they were completely out of the way. An experience where all fear was gone, there was no doubt, no thought, complete peace in the moment. And we've all had this experience. For example, if you play sports, and you can relate to this maybe, in those certain moments when you're playing sports, are you really thinking of anything else except for what's in front of you? I'd hope not, or else you'd probably mess up, right? And you have these experiences, or even runners, they call it the runner's high, where you can't pay attention to anything else but what's in front of you in the moment that's going on right now. Artists, musicians have these experiences. Everyone has this experience, mothers who have babies, or even pets experience this as well when they're being petted. It's the state in which the brain is coherent, where both sides of the brain are working together, and it's in this complete and utter peace, in calmness, and tranquility, no stress, no worries, no nothing. And I want you to think about your best moment, whatever moment. It doesn't have to be your top or anything, but just one of the best moments that you've had in your life. Just take a second to think about that. And how was it for you when you had that experience? Did you have any thoughts? Did you have any worries? Would you have changed it for anything? Were you living your highest desire maybe? Right? And so we all have this experience, and perhaps even when you look at the sunshine, right? The sun, or at the sunset, the sunrise. For me, it was that, I love watching the sunset, and I'd go to the beach and just be there in that moment. Completely relaxed, completely stress-free. Now, imagine if you could live your life from that space all the time. What if that was our natural state? Like I said earlier, what if you could just be there always in this moment without any stress, without any thoughts, without any worry in your life? How would that be for you? How amazing would that be if that is a possibility? And for me, my life has been a complete 360. My life is incredibly joyful, incredibly happy, regardless of what the situation outside is. Regardless if there's chaos, regardless if there's stress, if anything, I can rest in this place of who I am, what our natural state is, because it's always been there. We just forget. It becomes foggy. We let others dictate how we should be. And we see life through our own glasses, right? Our own perspective. When the reality of things is that it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be chaotic. It doesn't have to be stressful. What a life that would be. And now, if you're open to it, I can say that it is so possible. And it is so easy and so natural. And it's available to you because that's who you are. It's your birthright. We deserve to have that. We deserve to live a life of peace, of love, of joy, of freedom. Let's go beyond. What are we waiting for? We're not living. There's a whole world to live, to explore, to truly be here with ourselves, with us, with that essence of who we are in the world without having any problems. And I invite you guys to be open to knowing that that is possible for you, and that you don't have to be in that misery. Life could be different. The Ishayas Ascension has these incredible tools, that are amazing, and they're so simple, as I've said multiple times. It's based off 4 techniques, praise, gratitude, love, and compassion. Very simple techniques that take you directly to that experience of who you are, of that ascendant, that innocence, that pure joy that we all have within us and truly are, right? And it takes you to that experience. And what happens is that the more you enter this experience, the more you begin to recognize that's who you are. It doesn't matter what your situation is, who you are, what you are, where you've come from, where you are in the world. You can have that experience because you are that. And these tools are simple vehicles that bring you to that. And the cool thing about this practice is that it has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with your belief systems, what you think. You don't even have to believe that it works. because they're so mechanical and they're made perfectly with your brain to work with both sides of the brain so that it can have this coherence with it. So whether you believe it works or doesn't, whatever you think, doesn't matter. You can have that experience. And so I invite you to take a look at what we have to offer, because I believe that if it was up to me, I would put these in all the kindergarten schools so that we can all have this and be able to live a life of no suffering. And so now that you know that this is our birthright, and you know that this is possible, and let's say you want to try it sometime, whether it's not now or sometime in the future, put it on your bucket list, Put that on your list to do things, because if your highest desire is to experience what you told me at the beginning or what you thought about at the beginning, why wouldn't you want that to be your highest or your number one thing on your bucket list? Or else what's the point of life? Is there a point to life? And let's say you don't want to try Ascension. I encourage you guys to go out there and to look for something that'll work for you, something that will bring you that peace, that recognition of who you truly are, of what your natural state is, because this state is not just in the Ascension. It's within all of us. The Ascension is just a simple tool that can help you recognize that. But I encourage you guys to do your research, to go out there, to find something to live your true nature, to truly live life. So, bye.